Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Noodles? Welcome back for another edition, a very special edition of Football on the Know. It's our Halloween spectacular.
Holy moly, I had that way too loud, but that was amazing. That'll wake you up. We're super amped. That just shows you how amped we are. Demir's in the house with us tonight,
What's going
Joe,
on,
too.
Demir? What's up?
That's right, our Halloween special. Usually we're more dressed up right now, but you know, whatever.
I'm Paul Crew.
There you go. You're Paul Crew. That's true. I give him. If I had my Giants hat, I'd just be Brian Dable, I guess. You know, because I just gotta wear a hoodie, I guess, right?
That's it.
But thank you so much for joining us here with us tonight. We're really excited to be here. Last night I was feeling a little under the weather, but we moved it tonight, Thursday night. We have football tonight, so it's gonna be exciting about that. We've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Baltimore Ravens just about get started around 8:30. So we're gonna roll through what's going on with the NFL and stuff. Joe, it's the trade lines looming and heading up right now. We've already had some big trades kind of go on right now. One we heard about today was Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver of the New York Giants, traded to the Kansas City Chiefs now. Yeah. I can see the upside for the Chiefs here, absolutely, because, the type of dynamic player he could be. He's kind of like that Tyreek Hill-ish type of guy, in the backfield that you can kind of do for, your short, passing game, but even their running style, I see him fit in there. But the deal is like when he's healthy, and that's the problem, with this guy. He can't stay healthy worth a lick, and some Giants fans I talked to today, they're it was mixed. Some people were excited. Some people are kind of just, like, oh, man, but we just got him not too long ago. And, he's great. And, when he's healthy, is this. And I said, that's the key, though. When he's healthy. When has he ever been healthy? When has he been able to really touch the field? And secondly, he wasn't picked up by this regime here. He was a Dave Gettleman type of guy here, back when then. And you could see this regime's trying to move out for some of those guys. He hasn't fit what they wanted to do, and he hasn't been able to play for these guys here. So they're ready to move on from him. And if they could get someone, which they did, it wasn't a lot. A lot of people even expected to see him because he was an early rounder, that they can get something for him, like a first round. You're not going to do that for a guy like this. So I thought they got whatever compensation they could for him. It'll fit, I think, for the Kansas City Chiefs, and we're gaining a few picks.
Well, I'll say this. I'm kind of perplexed on the trade altogether. For the Giants, you're hurting at wide receiver. I know the guy's been hurt, but now he's healthy, because otherwise there would be no trade happening. So this is the confusing part, is if he is healthy, which it has to be in terms of the NFL, you cannot trade an injured player.
Exactly.
So he's healthy. So if he's healthy, why aren't you putting him on the football field to see what he can do? Because I understand the regime that is currently the New York Giants, they have no ties to these players that have been on the roster. They didn't draft these guys. They didn't sign some of these guys. So, you might go through a little bit of a turnover period, but to give up an asset like Kadarius Toney, he's healthy, ready to go, and you do not even get to see what he's capable of doing for you, that's a little questioning. I understand move on because of the injury-plagued seasons that he's had, but, I mean, when you see a glimpse of talent like Kadarius Toney could be, and that, granted, it all depends. Now that he's in a new environment with a new team, maybe he might not get injured again. It might be some kind of crazy coincidence.
Yeah, right.
But Kadarius Toney, when he was healthy with the Giants, man, he had a couple of really big-time games for them, and that kind of opened up everybody's eyes. We're like, oh, wow, we might have a stud on our hands. But with the Chiefs now trading for Kadarius Toney, this new regime basically saying, well, you haven't been healthy enough for our small amount of time we've been here, so we're going to just move on from you and get what we can. And they actually got more than I thought they would get. Kadarius Toney is 23 years old. They get a conditional third and a sixth-round pick, which is all depending, obviously, on playing time and how often he's going to be out there for the Chiefs. So, that's a lot. A third-round pick alone is a tremendous amount. I understand Kadarius Toney was a relative high pick and only 23 years old, but what have you done for me lately? He doesn't have enough built-up resume to warrant such a high pick.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the way I've looked at it, too. And not only just that he wasn't their guy, but it seems like, too, with some of these players, that, especially you saw in the offseason or practice, they weren't afraid to bench these guys because of antics or whatever they felt about their attitudes, possibly too off the field. I mean, you see what's going on with Kenny Golladay, you know, a guy that was shelled out some money to be that kind of starter, that number one receiver guy for him, and he can't barely touch the field here. And when he does, even too, not really making an impact on the game.
No, I mean, especially when you can't get open. That's his biggest problem right now. Well, one or two, but that's one of his biggest problems is that he cannot create separation. And if you're a wide receiver in the NFL, you have to be able to do so. And then two, when he does get open, he can't catch. So the Giants, you know, end up getting fool's gold and you know, in free agency, and this guy hasn't panned out for nothing. I mean, he's given a big contract, and for the Giants, and with this new regime, guess what? Doesn't look good for you for the future. Looks like you might have lost your job already. I mean, we see him not even being out there. So that goes to show you. Look at what happened with Kadarius Toney, another receiver, much needed at that position, but still not seeing the field, even though healthy. So that goes to show you what this coaching staff really thinks of those two guys.
Another big trade that happened, I think it was yesterday too, with Robert Quinn going to the Philadelphia Eagles here too. Now you're seeing a team like the Chiefs, team like the Philadelphia Eagles, who are still undefeated right now, probably the best team in the NFL right now, especially with the way they've been playing.
In terms of record, yeah, sure.
The going all in. You see the higher echelon teams now down its trade deadline, who's buying and selling. These guys are going all in. They're buying right now. So just to even make that team that looks pretty scary right now even scarier on defense, it's pretty nutty.
And you see something similar about this. Look at what the Eagles are doing right now. They've added a couple pieces of talent and now get Robert Quinn in a trade for a pass rusher that was last year like crazy. He went off, had double-digit sacks. I mean, was really putting it to quarterbacks. Even though his age, he's not any young spring chicken at all. He's at the latter parts of his career, and he's able to put up monster numbers like he did last year. And even this year, I believe he has like 5 or 6 sacks already. So this is a guy who is another one of these rare aging players that just found the fountain of youth. And now he's going to a team that's already competing to get to the Super Bowl possibly. And now you add a piece like Robert Quinn opposite to these all these great D linemen that they have. Listen, Derek Barnett injured. They knew he was going to be out for the rest of the season. So this is in response of losing him. They bring in a Robert Quinn, who's not only more experienced but also just plain better. You're seeing remnants from the Eagles like the Rams did last year. That's what the Rams did. The Rams picked up guys via trade to help them get over the hump. So the Eagles really, truly believe that not only do they have one of the best teams in the league, but also by making this addition with Robert Quinn, it's making a statement to the entire league saying, hey, we're coming for the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Demir says, my Packers need to do something, but they won't, LOL. They need to do a lot of something. They need to win, first of all. I think that's what you need to do.
No, the thing is they need weapons just like the Giants need weapons. I mean, guys haven't stepped up to the point, especially with Allen Lazard's injury, another injury again, probably not going to be able to play this week, it looks like, as of right now. But you're not even having your number one guy out there, Lazard. That's going to hurt you big time. And no one's really kind of step up yet, you know, in Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. We've seen flashes from Romeo, but no one's really kind of grasping a hold of that number one spot for wide receiver and taking the reins and going with it. Aaron Rodgers is constantly frustrated every single week. You see it on the field with more than you normally do. He doesn't really express emotion like that unless it's spilling over the top. So for Rodgers to show absolute, frustration and aggravation and not being able to run the offense like he would like to, until they either add more talent, like everybody made a big deal about Sammy Watkins returning from injury last week. What did he do? Nothing. So it's like you guys need to you got to make a move, at least one. I mean, or even a combination of a couple, because in order to try to maybe save somewhat of the rest of the season, there's got to be a change in the receiving corps. So you got to trade for one like the Chiefs did. They brought in a guy who's not proven yet, but they're going to roll the dice on him. And then
that's
the Packers,
the thing though too with the Packers, when they're not making a move like that, but you see the Chiefs who are already doing all right with the receivers that they have, they actually make a move.
Well, it's nothing crazy. It's Kadarius Toney.
No, I know. I hear you though.
It's not Tyreek Hill. It's not anything kind of big deal.
Move.
And who knows? He might not even play that much. To be honest with you, none of the receivers that are on that team currently get the ball a lot. So, to me, it's a lateral move by the Chiefs. Yeah, it makes them a little bit better, hopefully. Right. But that's all depending on Tony and his health.
Right.
And then for the Packers, the crazy thing too is that this is a organization that traditionally does not make big moves, especially mid-season. They do not go and trade for a caliber, a high caliber type player usually. You know what I mean? So sometimes they might trade away a guy, but normally they just don't kind of like say panic and they're going to go make a big move.
All right, we got Godzilla Media in the house with us tonight.
What's going on, Goz?
There he is. He goes, if you had to repredict your NFC champions, would your pick be the Eagles after this move? We don't really predict the champions. We didn't even do a Super Bowl pick this year either.
No,
but
I never did.
Even before this move, I already thought the Eagles were going to be up there to contend for the NFC Championship because of the moves that they made in not only the draft, but then even the offseason. When you have James Bradbury, on one side, then Darius Slay on the other as your secondary, and then your current defensive line on top of it, and then you look at the
very underrated linebacking core.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's pretty scary down there. That's like you want to talk about no-fly zone and stuff like that. That's got to be the epitome of what it is, at least right now. So, they were pretty dangerous altogether in my mind. And then he says also, will either one of you be handing out full candy bars during Halloween Monday, or are you both cowards? Oh, man, calling us out,
cowards.
Man. That's messed up.
I hand out footballs.
Well, I don't know what Joe would be doing. The thing is with Joe and I,
nobody comes to my house.
First of all, people think him and I hanging out all the time, like currently you can do everything together. You know what I mean? We're gonna be hanging out together, handing out candy. But the second thing is his kids are all grown up just about right now. They're all left the roost and everything. Adults. Mine are little still, so I'm gonna be taking them out to do the trick or treating, walking along with the flashlight. And to door to door and stuff, tell them to be polite and all that stuff. So I haven't even been home to hand out candy. So if you want to hate on somebody, I guess you can just hate on me because I don't leave candy out for anybody. So I'm the guy who my lights out, because I'm not there. I leave, I go, I do the thing with the kids, I come back. It's already like 9:00. Don't bother me right now. Most everybody else too gone out and done their trick or treating and stuff. I'm not handing out candy. I gotta go through all my other kids' candy and stuff like that. So I'm not doing any of that. I'm not handing out anything. Joe, what about you? You handing out stuff where you're at?
There's no point. No one comes to my door.
Yeah, I know. Somebody stops at your door, they might get hit by a car.
It's it's crazy because last year. The Halloween, I stocked up on candy too. Like I got the Halloween bowl. I filled it right up to the brim. Like I'm ready. Let's go. And not a one, not a knock, not nothing. So I don't know why.
Yeah.
It could be the very busy street.
It could be. It is. It's very busy. Demir says, hit the nail on the head, Joe, with all the points that you made about the Packers stuff.
Appreciate it.
I hate the NFL from YouTube. Wow,
what a name.
What a name for the YouTube channel. Yeah. Man,
coming in hot.
Offense is really finna be deadly now, and I hate it. Imagine Tony and Mecole Hardman are in the backfield at the same time. And that's why what the Chiefs are kind of looking at, in the Andy Reid type of offense, it fits the scheme, I think. But like Joe even said, what kind of impact will he even have? It's just that extra piece.
Honestly,
but that's what maybe I thought that was kind of funny, though. Like your friend Demir, he's talking about the Packers where they're not doing anything. Chiefs already have a decent offense. I'm like, so why would he even go make a trade to do a lateral move even? It's like, so if they're even doing something, why aren't the Packers doing something who need help right now?
They traditionally just don't. They don't. They don't feel.
Some teams are sellers all the time. I get it.
The Packers organization is like a poker player, right? Very patient, does not show emotion. You know what I mean? Is very looks calm and relaxed. They might be freaking out inside, but they have this plain face, and they don't give up any tips. You know what I mean? They don't allow you to see their weaknesses, basically. So they're an organization that is just very, they're very, they're good at what they do, but they're not going to panic at all, regardless of the situation. So listen, they've invested draft picks and receivers now. They have Allen Lazard still, so that's something to look forward to. But other than that, they are going to wait and see how these receivers can develop. I know it's not going to happen anytime soon, like right away, but until something happens, they're not going to make that big huge move.
I hate the NFL says it even came out that the Chiefs are going after Josh Allen from Jacksonville too. Imagine that. That would be crazy too, because
I don't see it happening.
But there was also somebody talking about last week about rumors about them getting somebody else too, or they were going after another D end or something like that, and we haven't heard anything about that yet. So rumors are going to fly because it's the last remaining part right up until the last bit of the trade deadline. So you're going to hear a lot of different
Here's the other
rumors.
thing too is Kadarius Toney. If that was the move, the big move, Josh Allen, that could be just a rumor, because after they made this trade for Toney, it's not going to cost them a lot in money, but they don't have a lot of money to play with right now. So I don't think they'd be able to take on Josh Allen too with a trade. If it happens, I'm going to question, Steve Spagnuolo. You're running out of D-line spots. Frank Clark is suspended for 2 games, but that's it. He'll be back after 2 weeks. I don't expect something like that to happen. I expect, if anything, if Josh Allen is going to be on the move, it's going to be to a different team.
And, talk about the Eagles real quick and the move that they made. I read something, too, about what Adam Schefter had said, is that despite making the trades that they did in the offseason, the draft, the offseason, and then even right now, currently, with the Robert Quinn move, they still have, 6 picks in this upcoming draft too. So it's just crazy what they have. So, and what they built themselves moving forward. Mike Tackett's in the house with us tonight. What's going on, Mike? What's scarier, getting candy corn, ghosts, or waking up 40,000 feet in the air to Russell Wilson doing high knees next to you?
I'm gonna say the last one.
Let's ride. Yeah, I know. That is kind of spooky and weird. It's like everybody's trying to sleep on the flight to London, and you're doing your exercises, in the aisleway. I don't know, dude. Do you have time to do that? Why don't you get rest?
I guess that's why Nathaniel loves him, because he's a constant worker.
Yeah, I guess. But when you're injured, isn't rest best? I learned that from Daniel
Obviously,
Tiger,
he's not that injured.
You know what I mean? So I guess not. He just maybe, again, it's another way they're saying he's injured. He's got to move him on and no more playing for him anymore, which that leads us into our next segment. But before I'm going to get into that, I'm going to tell you guys about our friends at Paul Perry Kitchens. They are one of our great sponsors here. We're happy to bring them to light here with everybody. And now's the best time to go visit them, because they had 2 locations on Freeman's Bridge Road in Scotia Glenville, but they are currently under construction right now, redoing their whole showroom. So now they've moved it all into one building. So now you don't have to go back to the different places. Go to 115 Freeman's Bridge Road, Paul Perry Kitchens. There you can get your custom closets, your custom kitchen, your screen repairs, glass repair, whatever you need, all your needs for your home, all right there in one spot. Check them out at paulperrykitchens.com. Or, like I said, go to Freeman's Bridge Road, 115 Freeman's Bridge Road, and see them up close and personal, and talk to a designer there, and they'll put you where you need to go. And take care of you. And we really appreciate them being with us this season. That's it. All right, here we go. Next,
I hate the NFL.
I hate the NFL says Eagles are doing what Rams did last year, but if it doesn't work, they will hit rock bottom like the Rams. I don't know. I don't think so, because you know what? The things that the Rams had done, they had gone all in, but they had got rid of their draft capital. Like I just brought up about the fact that they actually have some picks still. They can still do things with it. The Rams got rid of everything. All their top picks, like everything, and cashed in and just bought basically their players as they came in. Up until even late last year, where they brought in Von Miller last minute and Odell Beckham Jr. last minute to try and help make that push. The Eagles have done it again through draft, but then also picking these players and getting them at decent deals, and still not really sacrificing major picks, I think, for everything.
For the Eagles, that's the other thing too, is because they still have draft capital. I mean, that's the big difference. The other thing, too, that I'll say is that the Rams didn't do a good job planning ahead.
Right.
When you looked at their contracts, a lot of guys' contracts were ending. Aaron Donald's was ending. Von Miller was only there for a 1-year deal after the trade. You know what I mean? So, and then other guys that were currently on the team, all their contracts were ending. There was no way.
Year leases.
There was no way they were going to sustain that for the following year, because not only did they not have draft compensation, but they also didn't have a ton of money to re-sign a lot of these guys back to kind of keep the boat afloat. So I hate the NFL. You're absolutely right about that. And I would say that the Eagles, though, are a little bit different. Unlike the Rams, like Jimmy just mentioned, they still have something of draft capital. So they'll be able to still draft players for the near future. And they're in a better spot, actually, with contracts. I mean, you look at a lot of their younger guys. However, maybe they might not fall off like the Rams, but they might fall off a couple years down the road, because when those contracts, those rookie deals turn into big mega deals, like Jalen Hurts is going to command a ton of money when his contract is up. You know what I mean? A lot of these younger, Devonta Smith, when his rookie deal's up, he's going to – that's going to be the tricky part, is when we get to that stage of their contracts.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so that's something to move on. And you could see that what happened with the Seattle Seahawks when they did early. If they can win now's the time, because again, once you guys start paying all those guys, then there's going to be an issue there.
It's tougher to keep a team together nowadays. It's that simple.
All right, so our segment here we're starting off with here is QB horror stories. I named it as, just because the NFL, they're talking about, even, in the fall meetings, and right now it's the lowest scoring right now in a long time. And a lot of it, I think, is just because of poor quarterback play. And that could be due to injuries either to the quarterbacks, or it could be the offensive line and stuff, but you're seeing it all around.
Receivers can't
Aaron
catch.
Rodgers, yeah, and Tom Brady. It's funny how the quarterbacks, they get protected a lot, though, too, but they also get the blame a lot, too, because look at all the memes coming out, even about Tom Brady, and he can't score stuff. Dude's right there. It's Mike Evans. He should be catching that ball. Instead, he bobbles it, and, what are you doing, dude? But, like I said, down to even Aaron Rodgers, those guys, and the quarterbacks that have been not panning out. Look at the quarterbacks that got traded to teams this year, and that are not really playing well for their teams, or not even playing at all. We see Carson Wentz now out with the injury, to his hand. So you've got Taylor Heineke up in there, and look what happened, Joe. I gave the Green Bay Packers the benefit of the doubt this past week, just because they're at home, off of getting punched in the mouth by two New York teams, but I thought maybe they would come back with something.
We both thought
they might, but although despite that, I thought Washington was going to give them a run for their money, just because they rally around Taylor Heineke.
Yeah.
He already knows his offense. He's run with these guys before. He knows what to do. I thought it was better that they just sat with him, and look what happens with them when you don't have a Carson Wentz there. Taylor's in there, and they go and they beat the Green Bay Packers, Joe. And after making all that, giving up what you did, the trades, the picks here for Carson Wentz, now it kind of looks like you didn't need to do that move, much like we talked about in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, the big deal about this is that, Carson Wentz was never going to be the answer over Taylor Heineke. Taylor Heineke, just like you mentioned, is the team rallied around him when he was the starter last. And it seemed like he started to catch on a little bit later down towards the end of the season. And, I mean, some Washington fans thought the same thing. They were like, oh, well, maybe he could be something for us. Yeah, he's not going to be like an elite quarterback by any means this stage in his career, about 30 years old. But he was already better than what they've ever had there. Recently, that is. Now they go and pull off a trade and they bring Wentz in. Like, what are you doing? Why would you give up draft picks for a guy who's not better than the guy that you already have on your roster? That didn't make any sense. But this is an opportunity that we saw for Taylor Heineke was eventually going to happen, because Wentz doesn't stay healthy anyway. So now that he's injured, we talked about this briefly, but as soon as Wentz was going to leave the starting lineup, you lost your starting job. Taylor Heineke is going to perform much better than Carson Wentz. Taylor Heineke is going to actually win some games with Washington, and you've already seen that this past week. that not only was the offense so much better, the tempo was better. It just seemed like everything was clicking for them. So now, Wentz, you're as good as done. You might as well retire at this point, because after this team, I cannot see anybody seriously considering you for another starting job.
Yeah, I mean, and then to move on from that, again, big pickups, not only just trades, but look at what's going on with the Denver Broncos and Russell Wilson. That hasn't panned out for him. And you talked about it, I think, a couple weeks ago when we brought this up, the fact that they even restructured his deal and gave him a deal before he even stepped foot on the field for them to see how it was going to look. So they even put all their chips all in. You want to talk about somebody doing that all in one player, and it's not really working out so well for him right now to go and buy that type of quarterback. It's not working out. Yeah,
and that's the thing too, is like, I could get it from Denver if you wanted to give him an extension, like say like you wait half the year until your bye week or something, then you already have the parameters of the deal kind of agreed to, but they're like, hey, you know what? We'll do this deal, maybe a mid-season or something like that, and see what he could have done with you with the first set of games. And then that way you can be like, you know what? We're going to pull this contract back a little bit, put it in my back pocket. What about my extension? Yeah, we're still working out the kinks. That way they could have avoided giving him not only a huge extension, because now you're locked in with all that guaranteed money. I mean, it wasn't anything to bat your eyes about. This was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, to me, for a guy who had a little bit of he had a down year with Seattle and looked pretty bad down the stretch. And yeah, you go ahead and pull off this trade because you're thinking, oh, Russell Wilson, we're going to get the Russell Wilson of old, and he's going to be amazing for us. Well, that isn't guaranteed. And now that you handcuffed yourself to this guy, because now, even if you wanted to move on from him, you're stuck because of the amount of money that you just gave up. Guaranteed money, dead money, if you were ever able to move on from him, is going to be crazy. So, Denver really screwed themselves in a sense on this deal alone.
Absolutely. And here you go. Next up, too, we've got the thing that Matt Ryan is benched for the rest of the season. Sam Ehlinger is going to get the start here for the Colts. So now the Colts again searching for that quarterback numerous years in a row. Go and get Matt Ryan, think it's going to be the answer. And at first, I thought it was going to be a good fit for it, too, because I thought he needed a new change of scenery than what was in Atlanta. You see, they were starting to kind of do a retool, it seemed like, for them, especially with the changeover of personnel that they had. And I thought it was going to be good. The good, solid offensive line, running game, but they didn't help him out with some wide receivers either as well, and then some injuries on top of it. And he just absolutely hasn't looked good, though. I mean, Matt Ryan doesn't look like Matt Ryan of old, and just now so poorly. Yes, I understand now they're saying level 2 shoulder dislocation, will help sideline him now, but Frank Reich has basically said, even despite that,
it doesn't matter. He's still lost a job.
Lost a job. You're out. Hold the clipboard, and now you're going to help us moving forward as that guy that's going to help whoever's going to be next.
And you mentioned Matt Ryan, but this offensive line is not what we thought it was going to be. This offensive line is actually looking pretty bad. For 2 seasons ago, they were considered one of the best offensive lines in the league, and they went through a couple changes. They lost a couple different tackles, you know what I mean? And they're adding younger guys, and they don't seem like they're panning out at all. So I wouldn't just completely blame it on Matt Ryan, even though he's done a very good job himself to kind of dethrone himself. But this offensive line is looking suspect at the very least. So for the Colts' status right now, you can't be that excited about. The O-line isn't playing up to par. I don't care who you put, behind the O-line with the quarterback. Sam Ehlinger, maybe he's going to light it up a little bit. Like we've seen flashes from him last year, and how he was able to sustain some drives. So, I mean, there could be some positivity about this. Who knows? Maybe Sam is developing nicely, and they want to see what he's got as well. Maybe he could be their starter. He's shown some flashes last year when he was able to get on the football field, and now he's going to get the rest of the season to perform and to maybe fight for this potential quarterback spot. And honestly, the Colts can't keep going backwards. It seems like that's what they've done the last 3 years. They've traded for quarterbacks, for vets that a lot of people didn't even think anything much of. And they're like, oh, no, we'll fix him. You know, Frank Reich, I'll fix him. He'll be okay with us. And it's just not working out. 3 years running now, this has happened. Frank Reich, I like him as a head coach, but I don't know how much of this is Reich and the GM, or is it more the GM and less Reich? I'm not really sure, but Frank Reich I know is a very smart coach, and it would really suck if he lost his job based on what happened this year, because you've been there for 3 years, but it's constantly changing that quarterback position. How do you expect to get anywhere as a coach? Now, this is your third year. A lot of coaches, especially nowadays, they don't even get 3 years to prove themselves or to prove that this team is going to get where they want them to go. So I don't know how long of a leash he has, but questions are going to start to arise this year and say, okay, maybe we'll give you one more year, and maybe you got to prove something to us. You got to start winning games.
Do it! Yeah, I know. What do you guys think out there? Let us know in the comments too about some of the quarterback play that's been going on, and what do you think about Matt Ryan being benched, and what's the maybe future of some of these guys, if any, you know? And then the other thing that's going on now with the New England Patriots, Joe, what do you think about Bill Belichick and what's going on here? When I'm watching the game this past weekend, when they come out of the locker room after halftime, and when I think it was Lisa Salters or one of them talked to Bill Belichick, and they asked about, hey, when you made the switch, you know, from Mac Jones to Bailey Zappi, you know, what was going on there? Is because, you know, maybe it was the play, you know, trying to get something to play of it. And Bill Belichick goes, oh, we planned that all along. You know, it's like, I don't see how that makes sense. You know, even they're like, oh, we just planned to play both of them, or, you know, you're going to pull them out after a quarter or even after a few passes. Like, I've never seen that during a regular season game. That's one thing in like a preseason game you might do, but in a regular season game, you only pull them out if that quarterback if he was still not fully healthy, and they just want to say, hey, you're not going to do this right now, you know, was pull you out, you're make sure you stay healthy. Or his play, which was pretty putrid, it was 3 for 6 and an INT, not looking very good. They yanked him, and so much so now there's a quarterback controversy, people wondering about who might be the starter or not, and Bill Belichick still is trying to snuff that right now and just saying, oh, you know, whatever, you know, that was our plan all along, we were going to do this. But then now this week saying, well, who knows who I'll put out there, you know, and start some.
Before the game even started, we already knew that they were going to plan on playing both anyway. So it shouldn't be a surprise to the media. It shouldn't be a surprise of what they're doing. And, you know, hindsight's 20/20, but here's the bottom line. Neither quarterback did good. Let's just say what it is. Neither one. Bailey Zappi threw 3 picks when he was in there. You know, Mac Jones, they pulled the plug on him a little early or whatever, and he threw a pick or whatnot. But let's just say this, that neither quarterback is blowing away, you know, the competition. So Mac Jones, it's already been announced he's the starter this week, and who knows, maybe they might do it again. I don't think it's the smartest idea, because usually you go with the hot hand. Listen, your team started to get back, they got stronger, they got better, they started to score points and win games. And why disrupt that? Mac Jones, yes, I get it. He was due to come back this past week. But that doesn't mean you have to play him. What I think should have happened is instead of kind of creating this hysteria now in New England, which is normally not their game. They don't do this stuff. They don't leak anything. They don't allow you to know that stuff is unraveling, or maybe there's some, you know, decisions that they're not sure of. They're usually pretty silent. They're usually to themselves, and you don't see a chink in their armor. Now, this is a way different Patriots team and organization that we're witnessing. This is not like them normally, or Bill Belichick, to now kind of like, let's play games with the emotions of the fans and say, hey, you never know what I'm going to do. I could change mid-quarter and go to Bailey. I could bring back Mac in the second half. You don't know. But this is not good, because what they had originally, and I'll say this, before Mac Jones was going to be healthy, I was talking to a Patriots fan, and I told them my honest opinion. I'm like, you go with the hot hand. If Bailey Zappi is playing as well as he has, leave him in. Leave him in and see how much farther he can go. Now, in the next game when Mac Jones is healthy and Bailey Zappe is having a terrible game, then you make the return of Mac Jones. It makes it a lot easier to digest. Like, Mac Jones was our starter anyway. Okay, that's fine. We get it.
Yeah.
But the other way around,
enough with the fun and games.
It's poor management and it's poor strategy.
Right.
Bill Belichick has always been known as a very good strategist, except for last week.
Yeah,
it looked very disorganized. It looked kind of like, on a whim, like, oh, let's do this. Let's take Mac, sit him down. We don't want him to run too much because we saw he had to break the pocket and run for a couple times. And you got to wonder, did that affect his knee? Did it bother him in any way? And maybe that's what led to that change. So, but now it sounds like he's healthy. He's going to be the starter this week. The only thing that can save this team right now is Mac Jones staying healthy and just staying out there. Hopefully they don't make another change like this again. But at the very least, if you're a Patriots fan, I mean, the one good thing that you can look at is that at least you have two quick, capable quarterbacks. You know what I mean? Bailey Zappe fits that offense. So doesn't Mac Jones. Now move forward with your true starter. Mac Jones earned the right to be the starter. He is the starter. Let's not make any changes now.
Yeah. I mean, they're very similar, like you said. Even a lot of people are putting their looks back and forth, together, say they even look similar. But yeah, I mean, I think Mac Jones got to be your guy too, because again, he won the starting job. First of all, what it's been. He's looked pretty good, and I think he throws a more accurate ball. If you look at some of those balls that Bailey Zappe had thrown last week, he was lucky that some of those were even caught because it was off target completely. So
and the other thing too is, sorry to cut you off, but I gotta say, you brought that up.
Yeah.
Both quarterbacks, who was getting full team reps all week? Okay. Were they dividing them up?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because Mac Jones, coming back from an injury, hasn't practiced.
Right.
If he's not getting all the reps for this week, he's going to look rusty too.
Yeah.
So for them, I feel like this whole week was messed up for the Patriots offense, and it wasn't easy for Mac Jones to get back on the saddle and kind of, be the starter like he once was before injury. So hopefully going forward, Mac Jones gets all the reps this week, and then we'll see a much different output by the offense.
Absolutely. And it was funny, too. I thought it was funny during the broadcast is how Troy Aikman had brought up. He's like, oh, everybody's got all these, loves the strong arm, and you don't need a strong arm to play quarterback. I think it's overrated and stuff like that. So it's like, you don't need all that stuff.
But you know something? I do agree with him to a point.
No, I think the example, I think it's a pretty good example.
If you have a quarterback and he's by far, like, that's what Brady was initially. Brady developed his arm over the years and got a little stronger that way. But if you have a really accurate quarterback and smart, you're who cares if he can run? Who cares if he might not have the strongest arm? A strong arm is just a bonus at that point.
Yeah.
Like Josh Allen was a bonus, but he needed to develop too.
Yeah.
So if you can have an accurate quarterback, I mean, usually they get it out pretty quick. I mean, it's right on time, right on point. So, like, that to me is bigger deal than, let's have the strongest arm in the nation come out, and that's what we want, even though he can't hit the broadside of a barn.
Absolutely. So, I mean, there you go. There's some of the ones there, too. I think that's going on with the quarterback controversies / horror stories. There's some other good stories out there for some of these players. I mean, look at Geno Smith has been playing really great, and he's up there for, QBR and everything else, like a rejuvenated guy right now.
He's killing it.
Daniel Jones, NFC offensive player of the week with 100 yards rushing and 200 yards passing. So holy moly, look at this. But it's funny to see finally this offense run kind of the way it probably should have been being run. The thing that some of us fans have already asked for, so it's nice to see this start to happen for the New York Giants and all that. And speaking of the Giants, this weekend, this Sunday, we are going to be live at Restaurant 605 once again. It was such a good time last time. They asked us to come back. Yes. And here we are. And you know who's back too? Dion Lewis is back too. He had such a good time last time with us. He's coming back. It's going to be the New York Giants, Seattle Seahawks here, where they get to face those two quarterbacks that I just spoke of here. We get to see who might be better in that one. Is it going to be Geno? Is it going to be the really rejuvenated Daniel Jones here? And don't forget also, you've got those Buffalo honey garlic wings, though. Those things were amazing.
So good.
Great
good.
food. That's the thing about this place. It's not like your typical sports bar. It's like a awesome 5-star restaurant that has TVs everywhere and delivers football, and they're all Giants fans.
It's a hidden gem in Albany. Let me tell you, this is a new restaurant. If you haven't been there, you must go. Yeah. And the food is absolutely top shelf. Mm-hmm. The service is amazing. Everybody there is great. And the environment of the place, it's kind of like that. It's that sports bar, but it's like that kind of upscale type of sports bar type of deal where like you can go have a good time, have some drinks, have some phenomenal food, and a great conversation.
Absolutely. Like I said, it's going to start at 3 p.m. We're going to hang out there. There's going to be a raffle for an autographed football. Dion will be there. He's going to autograph the football. It's a New York Giants football. So come on down, check it out, hang out with us, watch the game, eat some great food, say hi, and we'll have a blast there. Joe, let's tell everybody about our friends that are also our sponsors here at Mohawk Honda that go out of their way just to not please us, Joe, but they go out of their way to please you out there.
They definitely do. Just like that, everybody, guess what happened? We blinked and went from summer to fall.
And now it's almost winter.
Exactly. And
it feels like summer. Isn't that funny? Holy crap. It's like 70 degrees right now.
Yeah. And I guess for the rest of the week, it's like going to be like in the 60s or something crazy like that.
Amazing.
Listen, when we do eventually get to that crisp morning air, the coldness of it all, pumpkin muffins being baked in the oven, you can just smell them right now.
I can smell
beautiful foliage. We're seeing that already surrounding us. And just like that, here we are. It's the season. The season's changing. But one constant thing is the buying experience at Mohawk Honda, where they greet you with a smile, treat you with some respect. We don't get that enough these days. But right there at Mohawk Honda, that's the place to go to get some of it. The new vehicle inventory is ramping up. Fully stocked pilots, passports, Ridgelines, you name it, they got it there. And one of the highest volume inventories of them all in the Capital Region. They are the king of the Capital Region. Remember, best time to ever sell your vehicle, they buy your cars as well. If Mohawk Honda, stop in, see them, give them a call, email, whatever you want to do. But they're there to help you guys out. They'll buy your cars, and for a lot of times for more than what it's worth. So that's a big deal, too. General Manager Greg Johnson is with his new sales team, consultants. They're always available to help you guys with the buying process. Very easy with them. They treat you like family. They have a big news shout out for Scott Moynihan. That's right. He's back with Mohawk Honda and bringing his 30-plus years of automobile experience with him. Stop in. Welcome Scott back to Mohawk Honda. Say hi to him. He can help you out with the process and the buying process and all that stuff. But yes, the season's changing, but at Mohawk Honda on Freeman's Bridge Road in Scotia, New York, they go out of their way to please you guys.
That's right.
Listen, I got to say, Mohawk Honda, they are one of the pleasant dealerships I've ever been to because I've never bought a brand new vehicle before from a dealership. And usually it's mostly because, like, I always picture, like, those dealers, like, just hounding you and bugging you in the parking lots and saying, oh, can I help you? Can I help you? Hey, can I interest you in this? Can I interest you in that? No, I'm just here looking, guy. Leave me alone. But these guys, Mohawk Honda, the staff there is absolutely great. They greet you, just like they say, greet you with a smile, but not just that. You get a sense of not being pressured to do anything.
Yeah, you need your space, right?
They're like your long-lost friend of 10 years, and now you return, and you can shoot the shit with them. You can talk with them. You talk about life. You can talk about what you're looking at for your next car. Do you want it big, small, medium, large? Boom. They got it all.
That's right. That's right. Our friends at Mohawk Honda, Joe. All right, Joe, every year for our Halloween show, we do a special segment here. We call it Trick or Treat, and what we do is we go through and we've changed it from different teams, stuff like that. We think they're trick or treating, blah blah. But we've moved it on to other things, sort of like almost like hot takes, I guess. And we kind of go along with them and say whether we think it's a trick where we don't believe it or it's a treat. Like, absolutely, I can agree with this. So we're going to do that this year. Here we go. Let's roll right into it, Joe. All right, the first one here, we've got, the last undefeated team in the NFL is not the best. So is that a trick or is that a treat, Joe?
Come back to me.
Come back to you. Okay, so I'm going to say right now, at this point, oh man, it's tough because it could be it was that team is not the best. I would say it's a treat just because
You never know what can happen.
The Buffalo Bills right now, if you looked at their rankings on defense too, they've got like the top 3 categories already locked in at number 1 on defense, plus their offense on top of it. The Philadelphia Eagles are there, but just what the depth, like we talked about it, the depth with the Buffalo Bills, even though dealing with injuries here and there, the depth that they have and the ability that they are able to play on defense, but then on offense and against some of the teams that they've already faced that are probably guaranteed playoff contenders they're going to meet further on in this season, for championships. The Buffalo Bills, they probably are pretty close to the best team in the NFL, if not even one of these other ones. I mean, you see some of these other guys are just a 1-loss record and stuff. A lot of people overlooking the Vikings, but right now for me, it's still got to be the Buffalo Bills at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I guess for me it would be a treat because we are only approaching the midway point of the season. And honestly, that doesn't mean like any one team, they get the crown of being the best in the league just because we're at the midway point. Let's see how you finish. Let's see how healthy your team can sustain the rest of the season and see if you continue to do extremely well or you might slide, maybe because of injury, maybe because of performance. Things do change quite often in the NFL, so we got a whole other half of the season, so that's why I think it's a treat.
All right, you guys play along out there too in the comments. Don't be shy. Don't be shy out there. All right, my next up one here, we've got Matt Ryan has played his last game as a starter in the NFL. What do you think about that one, Joe?
Oh man, I'm sorry. I was a big proponent of Matt Ryan coming into the season for the Colts. Thought that he would definitely help this team, especially offensively, propel themselves and to be a better team, to be a more daunting opponent for the division. But man, have I been sadly mistaken. Matt Ryan, I don't know what happened to him this offseason. I don't know if is it the poor offensive line play of the Colts? Is it a mixture of that and not having receivers? I don't know if it's Matt Ryan all to himself, but bearing what we have seen the first half of this season, Matt Ryan did not do a good job of saying, hey, I'll be back next year. So yeah, it's a treat.
Reality is often disappointing.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I thought the same thing where I thought the Colts, this was their year. They were going to overtake the Tennessee Titans. And the Titans had showed them this year already that, no, this is not happening. It's our turf. And they did it last week. And now you see what happens after that. The Colts are just like, all right, yeah, you're out. Sit down. Sam, come on in over here, buddy. You're going the rest of the way, buddy. We just got stomped on by Big Brother. You know what I mean? And that's the same thing there, too. So, the thing about this question, go ahead.
It's even worse, though, when you get injured and then they tell you, oh, by the way, don't worry about coming back.
Yeah. It's like, I hurt myself. Go home and don't come back. It's like, what? But Matt Ryan, again, the thing about it, too, is the way it's worded has played his last game as a starter in the NFL. So you're brought in to do this job, to bring you to the upper echelon, to get you to the big game. And you're benched. Yes, like you said, not only just because of an injury, but they even said the rest of the season, no matter what.
Yeah,
that
don't rush
says
back,
to
Matt.
you now you're that veteran that's going to sit behind a younger guy, and you kind of expected to help him along, to maybe move along to get them further for a team. So,
I mean, the one good thing about Matt, though, is that he's already even stated he's like, I'm here for the Colts no matter what. You know what I mean? So he's going to be a great teammate even when he comes back from injury, even during his injury. He's going to help out Sam, maybe recognize some defenses that he didn't before.
Right.
That type of thing, just to help him on the sideline.
Absolutely. So next up, I've got the New York Jets will make the playoffs. Joe, trick or treat?
I'm going to, as much as I do like where the Jets are headed, as much as I like where the direction's going with this team, they're not the healthiest right now. And they just ended up losing Elijah Vera Tucker for the season, which is a humongous loss. We thought Mekhi Becton was the bigger loss because of his size, but no. Now they have yet lost another great offensive lineman and young offensive lineman for this Jets team. I don't know how they're going to be able to they're going to try to mask it for sure with the next man up mentality, but will they be able to is a whole other question in itself. For the Jets, as much as I love the direction they're going, as much as I am rooting for them to maybe make a wild card or something, I'm going to say it's a little bit of a trick here.
All right, yeah, I think I'm going to do the same thing here for you, too, as well. As I like what they're doing. It looks like they're up and coming.
Their defense is getting better.
Absolutely. So that'll keep them in games. But again, I think it's a little premature, but it's a nice story what they're doing. And it's right now with that division, there's a lot going on. Again, just because of injuries altogether, And Tua is finally get back together and trying to get things rolling in Miami. So there's a little issues there, but I think they're going to work through.
Zach Wilson though gets another weapon back. Elijah Moore's coming back from injury, and from we heard the rumors about him wanting to get traded, and the offensive coordinator says, "Don't worry, we got you. You're going to start at slot." So I'm curious to see how Braxton Berrios and Elijah Moore are kind of rotating in or something like that, because Elijah Moore wants to start somewhere. He's getting tired of not being involved. So let's see how they do this week.
Right, and then they lose Breece Hall for the year, but then they go and get James Robinson in the trade. So how about that? So
James Robinson, I know, isn't nuts?
Yep. Now next up, I got Tom Brady will retire after this season, even though he has come out and said, I'm not going anywhere. I don't see it in my future at all, because there have been rumors saying that he might even retire or walk away during mid-season during this season.
I think he should have. I mean, honestly,
he might, but then I think he'd look at a quitter. I think he's too proud.
Before the season even started, Tom, you have nothing to prove. And you're not coming back. You decided to come back, but you're not coming back to the same Buccaneers team you had that won the Super Bowl. You're coming back to a team that is in a little bit of a turnover. And because of injuries up in the midsection of that offensive line, they've been decimated. You're coming back to a team that's very different from that winning Buccaneer team. So a lot of new players on the defensive side took over. And you're getting pummeled now. You're getting hit left and right.
Now he's only proven that he can take a hit.
And the only and the one big thing that I'll say is, like, you have to think of your future. And we knew the rumors out there, and they ended up being true about his divorce that was about to happen and the separation from the family that he had. Be a man more than a football player, because this is where I have a little bit of a problem with Tom Brady now, especially, is you chose playing maybe one more year of football over your family that you had in the future. So definitely would recommend you to retire, because the future doesn't look bright anymore. And honestly, the whole statement of him saying, "Oh, I'm going to play as long as I want to now." No. Your body is not holding up. You're taking a beating. Everybody can see it. So, time to end it after this year, and maybe. I mean, I don't know how you could even repair that relationship now that you're getting a divorce, but you should have done this earlier and just left the game.
Absolutely. All right. Next up, we've got Carson Wentz has taken his last snap for the season.
I mean, obviously. I mean, that's a treat. He definitely have to take his last, because we talked about this last week, even about Carson Wentz and how he's always injured. But we also said this. We said Taylor Heineke, if he was given another opportunity to be that starter over Wentz loses his job. And this is where the torch is being passed. Wentz got banged up. He's going to be out for a few weeks.
That is correct.
That's okay, because Taylor Heineke is actually the better quarterback on this team. And you saw it last week about how this team has transformed itself in 1 week, and they got the W in Big W.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next up, we've got the Chargers missed the playoffs. Brandon Staley is fired. I would think. Because you heard also Sean Payton out there. Everybody's interviewing Sean Payton right now. But he's like, I want to come to a perfect situation. That might be the closest thing to a perfect situation for him. But
I don't think so. I really don't. I think this is a trick. I don't think Brandon Staley's going to lose his job. This is his, second year of head coaching. I still think he'll be given another year at least before a decision is going to be made. Because we all know he's taking a beating with the speculation of why are you going for it on fourth down all the time.
Right.
You know, and sometimes that's costing them games. Sometimes it's just not a smart decision. And I understand they're taking heat. But this team is a good team, and he does have a good offense. And we've seen how dangerous they can become. But now they're going through injury problems right now, too. They lose Mike Williams for several weeks. Keenan Allen just got back last week. And honestly, the offensive line is still solid. But again, when you're losing a weapon like Mike Williams, now it seems like you're going back to those old ways of having one legitimate receiver that's going to take all that coverage away. But But this could be a period in time where we start to see, with these injuries compounded, J.C. Jackson is done for the year. That's another huge thing. So
big.
Now we're starting to see the Chargers do what they normally do. They get the injury bug around this time, and we're starting to see some guys fall. How's that going to affect this team overall? And Joey Bosa, another guy done for the year. So it's like they're taking some major hits with their starting players. How can they adapt? And that's going to be the bigger thing for Brandon Staley. That's going to be the decision maker, I feel like, for him to either be on one side of the fence where, like, you know what, now we're starting to think of maybe moving on from you, or, oh, yeah, he's definitely our guy.
All right. Yeah, I hear you there, too. Again, it might be a little too early, but, again, people get a little crazy out there, especially fans, too, even though there might not be that many Chargers fans out there. You know, people in the media will definitely drive the narrative. All right, here we go. Next, we've got Saquon Barkley will be the highest paid running back in the NFL.
That's a trick. I don't see that happening because the owners are now because that's already a diminished value position. It's not seen as you have to pay these guys $14-15 million a year. Like Todd Gurley got $14.5 million or something like that. That was like one of the last contracts where teams started saying, you know what, why are we doing this? Why are we spending so much money when we can find one in the draft, or we can sign one of these free agents that come available that can start for us and do a good job? So I think for Saquon Barkley to be the highest paid running back in the NFL, I don't see it happening, because you also got to look at has he been on the field enough? No, he hasn't been completely healthy in his career, or at least healthy enough to kind of really kind of give a good synopsis of what he's going to be. You know what I mean? We all know that he's a really good running back. We know that he's the major piece of this puzzle for the Giants. That's what's keeping them afloat. You take Saquon Barkley out of that equation, and that team is nowhere near as good as they are right now. So I know one player doesn't make a team, but he makes such a big difference on offense that you're going to have to pay him. I just don't think he's going to be the highest paid.
Right. And even though that's a loaded statement too, just because that's not even saying the Giants are going to pay him that much. It could be anybody out there. But you see, if we just took a look at the list of the highest paid, you got Christian McCaffrey there, you've got Alvin Kamara, and then Zeke Elliott out there again. And you haven't really got a whole lot out of that lately, just because of the injuries, but then also other things.
So those three players also get injured. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So think about that. Then when you look at that list and you're like, oh wow, those are the highest paid running backs.
What his agent's probably going to do. Like, hey, I'm just as good as he's better than these guys have played. So we got to throw it out there.
We need to see you on the field
who's
more.
Going to be doing it? Yep. And lastly, here for the trick or treat. We've got every team that traded for a quarterback this year will draft one this coming year in this coming draft.
They got to.
Yeah, right?
That's a treat. I mean, isn't it so obvious? Like, listen, clearly those teams have not found their quarterback. You know what I mean? So, and if they're going out and trying to bring in a veteran or trying to bring in a different competition at that spot, now you might say like, oh, yeah, I could definitely see all of them going and drafting a quarterback, because we've seen it before, and it's not a guarantee though. You know what I mean? Even though at least they're trying it, at least that's the thing is, you got Washington with Taylor Heineke. He's not young. I'm baffled by this, because I was tricked. Right? I thought for sure he was like middle age, like 27, 28. No, he's 30 years old, and that makes a big difference, because as a quarterback, and to be a backup for that long, it's going to be phoned in. Like, they're going to need the next future face of those teams. So, Colts, they have to. You know what I mean? You gotta try to find that face of your franchise and build from it. Because there's teams that did make trades for quarterbacks that are really not that far off. But if they were able to nail it in the draft and get their guy, then you can kind of build outwards and add more talent to your team.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. There's our trick or treat segment for this coming year this year. So that was a lot of fun, Joe. A lot of different headlines, and who knows, maybe some of it will come true, but some of it won't. But that's the funny thing to talk about there. So we're going to get to our picks in just a little bit. The game's going to get started in just a little while, too. So
Excited.
We're getting down there. It's going to be the Buccaneers and the Baltimore Ravens. But two teams that kind of need a win right now. Even Baltimore is looking a little better than what Tampa Bay has been lately, but Tampa Bay's got to be thirsty for a victory right now. But before we get into that, I'm going to tell you guys about our friends at Colorize, the paint professionals. They're locally owned and operated. Benjamin Moore dealership right now. They have 3 locations, coming a 4th here. It was Clifton Park, Niskayuna, Queensbury, and now in Troy they're going to be starting up. And yes, they focus not only just on the outstanding products of Benjamin Moore, but as an independent dealer, they also have access to almost everything paint and finish related, serving everyone to the paint professional, to the do-it-yourselfer out there that's got a home project as well. They're eager to help you. Just go on in there, talk to a representative. Mine is my guy, Brett, in Niskayuna. Love to say Brett. Whenever I walk in, hey, Jimmy, it's like I'm Norm walking in the chairs. Like, hey, Brett, what's up, buddy? Hey, how are you? See, they're friendly, and they're there to help you out and give you the best advice that they can. Colorize, the right paint, color, and advice from local professionals who care. Check them out at mycolorize.com or any of one of those locations I had already just mentioned. All right, Joe, the picks competition. It's still hot and heavy here, getting tight. We ended up being 8-5 last week together here, but still now we're tied. It's 56-50 here still and 1. So we're still on the plus side at least right now, Joe.
Still not
so
good enough.
It's not good enough. But this year has been really kind of weird because I think even the ones that we lost or some that a lot of people kind of almost expected to try and be like Tampa Bay, you would have thought they would have gave us something better. You would have thought maybe that Green Bay would have gave you something better on this one. Some of those just didn't turn out correctly. And let me look even at some of the other ones there. Again, and we automatically, at least I do automatically with the Giants, pick against the Giants, so then it actually helps my team win, because I'm superstitious like that. And so far it's worked out for me. So I think if you're smart in this whole competition, you just pick whoever the Giants are playing. Just pick the Giants every time because I'm picking against them every time. So if you did that this season so far, you're at least getting 6 wins right now, so that looks pretty good for that. But yeah, let's get right into it, Joe. The Baltimore Ravens, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, tonight's game. What you got in this one?
I like where the Ravens are headed, to be honest, way more than Tampa Bay, and that's not nothing to laugh about because the Ravens look like they're starting to get back to their old ways. They're starting to run the football. They're looking better the last couple of weeks, and the defense is getting healthier. A lot of guys, Ronnie Stanley, one of their left tackles, has been out for a decent amount of time. He's been often in and out of the lineup in the middle of the games, and it looks like now he's making a full recovery. So it looked for him to be the starter out there on the offensive line. But other than that, they're getting some weapons. They're getting Marcus Peters back. Didn't practice Monday, but looks like he's full, as we go to the rest of the week. And Rashad Bateman makes a return. He's been out with a foot injury for quite some time, and he practiced in full today, so he will be there. So the Ravens are not only getting healthier, but it seems like they're going back to what was working before offensively. And with all that being said, that makes them a much more dangerous team. Right. The Buccaneers, on the other hand, are going backwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen, we understand they're decimated with injuries up the middle on offensive line. We understand that Brady's taking a lot more hits. The weapons aren't all healthy. Julio Jones is a game-time decision tonight. Don't know if he's going to play or not. But other guys like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, you got to step up, got to help the quarterback out. And Leonard Fournette is suffering as well because if you don't have a good blocking, your front offensive line blocking well, then he's not going to be able to get more opportunities to run out in the open field. So defensively, with all the changes that Tampa Bay is going through, I like Baltimore in tonight's game going into Tampa.
Yeah, me too, because if you talk about injuries for Tampa, I think you got to look at the secondary too and stuff, because Winfield Jr. is not going to be playing. What is his name? Gandy Bunting, is not going to be available either as well. So when you look, you're not exactly scared of what the Baltimore Ravens bring on the offensive situation here, but they can beat this secondary that they're going to have there back here. So I think that's going to be a big part of it. And when you already have to kind of deal with Lamar Jackson maybe taking off on you and stuff. So Tampa Bay, they just kind of beat up right now at this point. And I see them losing again. They just ain't got it this year. It's a different team.
They're missing. They're missing quite a bit. Even Russell Gage is not playing.
Yeah, it's going to be massive.
Their guard The Luke Goedeke, like he's out. Like they are just crazy decimated.
All right, let's move on to the Denver Broncos here and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Broncos, had to march out Brett Rippon again, a guy that they had there, for the past, couple of years here underneath, Drew Lock and all those guys. But because of Russell Wilson and his issue, but again, the London game, 9:30 in the morning, the travel time, while the rest of the team's sleeping, Russ is sitting there getting exercise. So wouldn't it be funny if he all of a sudden shows up to the game and he's like, falling asleep like down the field, he can't get it done. They're like, dude, Russ, you gotta lead us, buddy. Come on, let's ride. He's like,
let's ride.
Let's fly. Whatever. But Jacksonville, man, what a tough game. That game was a lot closer than it should have been, even last week with what had gone on. Saquon Barkley, I'm yelling at the goddamn screen. I'm like, dude, you should know this. Stay in bounds. And he did it twice and then banged his head even after he did it twice.
After he did it.
And he did it a third time to go and juked outside. What are you doing?
So, funny thing is about that game and the ending, the way it happened, right? So the Jaguars get their one last shot to drive down and score. They were within scoring range. But why? I'm sorry, Jaguars. I gotta ask you the question. And teams do this all the time for first downs. Why do you run a route where you're short, where you need to be? Why? It doesn't make sense because that's what defenses want you to do. And then they just tackle in front of themselves. So, I mean, the Giants were definitely prepared for it. And when you run a route 2 yards short of the goal line, it just makes it easier for the Giants to stop. They were all behind him. And once he caught the ball, they went after, attacked, and tackled. I don't understand why teams do this. Whether you need a first down or a touchdown, why are you running short routes? I understand the idea is like, hey, they won't expect us to run short, get the ball, and then we turn upfield and run for 2 yards or whatever. But a lot of times when defenses are looking for that, it doesn't work. Why?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, Jacksonville, a hard-fought game. Denver can't really score right now, despite of what the talent that you've got around them. Still, to where you're even hearing maybe that Jerry Jeudy might get pushed along around this trade deadline here too, because he doesn't get the ball enough over there for them either. But Denver, I don't think they're going to do enough here because Jacksonville, they've been, I think, just playing a lot of tougher teams a lot harder than what we've seen out of Denver. So I like Jacksonville at home to come through, and
it's not
is
really
it an
home.
upset, but not really. I don't know. There you go.
No, I don't think it's an upset at all. I think this is, we've seen Denver, the Broncos, and Russell Wilson, let's ride and all that, and we've seen enough. We've seen enough to come to the conclusion like, hey, guess what? We were right. None of the media was right. They were saying, oh, Russell Wilson's going to make Denver win the division, and they're going to the Super Bowl. And where are they now? They're not a very good football team. They're not able to beat almost everybody. I mean, they're playing so poorly that they're just letting every game be able to every single game they play is just not good enough to the point where they're letting these other teams that maybe they should put away early, and they just don't, and they come back and win.
So what do you got?
I got Jacksonville.
Jacksonville here, yeah.
Listen,
it's like their second home, dude. They go to London every year.
Well, they're on the East Coast, so I mean, I could see why the NFL does it. And my only thing too is because they've gone so often. Shad Khan, the owner of Jacksonville, I wonder if he gets a little stipend from it. Like it seems like every year they're that team that always goes over across. So they get a little stipend for get a little money from the NFL. Like, hey, you guys are willing to, we'll pay you.
Yeah, exactly right. Like they were trying, I think, so hard to make that be the first London team. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars. Here we go. The Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons have been playing really tight football, but how about the shocker with the Carolina Panthers?
What is going
last
on?
week? And that's what you want to say. What happened with Tom Brady, and that's why the memes are started because you got PJ Walker who started it in the XFL. As a quarterback, they're selling. They got rid of Christian McCaffrey. They got rid of Robbie Anderson. I mean, they look like they fired their coach, and they go and beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A beat up Buccaneers team, but still Tom Brady led Buccaneers team and not getting it done.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we just gotta say.
What the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
I am so
That's what Tom Brady's probably saying down there.
I'm so confused because I thought for sure this game was nailed. I thought Tampa Bay is going to win this game. No problem. We've seen Carolina struggle big time. I mean, Matt Rule gets fired. The team is in disarray. Robbie Anderson gets traded away. Like Christian McCaffrey gets traded away. It's like, oh, fire sale. And they're just going to implode. They're going to fall apart. What just happened last week? They beat, not just beat Tampa Bay.
They beat the daylights out of them.
Destroyed the Buccaneers. For the first time in a very, very long time, they made it. It was a statement game for them. And P.J. Walker, able to take the offense by the reins and score points and move the ball, and they did a great job. I mean, honestly, it is what it is. It's not anything special. It's just they were able to make the plays, and I'm surprised by it because I thought for sure Tampa Bay was going to put up not only a bigger fight, but I thought for sure they were going to win.
Right, so now we got the Carolina Panthers here and the Atlanta Falcons here at home. Atlanta's been playing a lot better. It was nice to see what Carolina did, but again, I know the situations both these teams are in. I think Atlanta, again, has played up against a lot of tough competition. I like them here at home. I don't think they're in the sell mode like the Carolina Panthers are, so I'm going to Atlanta Falcons here in that beautiful stadium. I love this.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, the thing, too, is both teams they're in this spot where like one can transcend and keep going upwards. You know what I mean? Like Atlanta, we've seen them how competitive they've been, but they did just sustain some big time injuries. Like AJ Terrell doesn't look like he'll be able to play, so they lose a corner and what have you. But Atlanta, I like what they've done. They've surprised the hell out of me. I thought for sure they were going to be like one of these teams that just can't win. You know what I mean? Because of the drastic changes, but Marcus Mariota with this offense with Arthur Smith as the coordinator and coach, they seem to be making it work despite the injuries. Carolina, I don't know. I just seem to think that like maybe because the Buccaneers were so beaten and battered last week, they were able to take advantage. I'm going to stick with the home team here and go with Atlanta to get in the win.
All right, we've got the Chicago Bears coming off of a win against the New England Patriots, and the Dallas Cowboys back with Dak Prescott rocking and rolling, looking pretty good here. Dallas is always tough to beat at home, and the way that defense is playing, I think it's going to be way different than what he saw last week with the New England Patriots defense. I think because you have more than just like Matt Judon to deal with. You have these multiple pass rushers, so if it's not one, the other one's going to get you. I like the Dallas Cowboys in this one at home.
Yeah, Cowboys defense been playing really well, especially when they have Micah Parsons. Like we said before, just keep him as the rusher. Just keep him down there at the end, and that will be the difference. So Dallas has been playing good. Dak is back. You got all these. He's got his weapons back too. CeeDee Lamb is healthy. Michael Gallup makes a return last week. So they got a lot going for them. Tony Pollard is ripping off some big yardage. In Chicago, I'm still kind of confused what we're seeing from Chicago. 2 weeks ago, they looked like absolute dog shit on a primetime game. Then they have another game this past week, and they looked way better. It's like flip of the coin, so much different. But I think that going into Dallas is definitely a hard place to play, and I like to see what the Cowboys can do against Chicago's defense.
All right, Joe. We've got Kevin Sumner in the house with us tonight.
What's going on, Kevin?
Wow, it's been a while,
there
boys. What is up, gentlemen? What's going on, Kevin, man? It has been a long time, man.
Yeah, I hope everything is well.
How are you doing, brother? I think he's a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yes, yeah. That's a man. So he's been better than, I guess you would have to say, right? All right, so next up, the Miami Dolphins and the Detroit Lions. Detroit, again, struggling. It's one of those teams that's tough that I thought were onto something here. But again, injuries have gotten them too. But I think Swift is going to be able to play this week, so that's a positive. Jameson Williams still not going to be around for a few more weeks, still rehabbing. So a lot of those fans are still kind of looking forward to that day that maybe they might be able to see him at one point. He goes, here's the link for the stream today. Okay, I don't know. Katie over Legit. I don't know. They posted something about that.
That's spam.
CM. Oh,
don't read it.
Yeah, don't read that crap. Yeah, I thought they did some other thing too another time. All right.
Come on, focus.
So, yeah. Anyways, Detroit, Miami Dolphins. Detroit, again, can't get out of their own way, even though they are at home. I think the Miami Dolphins, again, are going to play hard here, and they're going to take the victory here in this one.
Yeah, and this is the thing, too, with Detroit Lions. Like, I love the direction they're headed, but, like, with these injuries that they have had to sustain, with some of the choices that have been made on the football field, they're a competitive team, but they're still not quite there yet. We see their defense playing a little bit better, but they're just not ready to go and help out this offense. So, yeah, the Miami Dolphins, they got Tua back last week. That's a huge relief for them. They get back their starter, and you saw how explosive they were on offense with Tua at the helm. So, Dolphins, they're getting healthier than Detroit is. And I just like the fact that they got these explosive weapons using Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Miami's going to continue their winning ways and win one in Detroit.
All right. Kevin says, I'm good. My team's been shitty, but he's moving to North Carolina on December 1st.
Oh, wow. Good for you, man.
Yeah, he goes, I want to hang with you guys before I leave. All right.
Excellent.
Well, that's a perfect opportunity then, Kevin, because if you can, this Sunday, go to Albany, and we will be there at Restaurant 605 with former New York Giant, Patriot, Super Bowl champion Dion Lewis will be there. We are raffling off a signed football by him. So come on, check us out down there. Hang with us. Drink some beers, eat some wings. You got $4 Miller drafts there, too. So come on down there to Restaurant 605 in Albany. It's easy to find. It's right across from St. Peter's Hospital,
605 New Scotland Avenue.
Absolutely. So, check us out. Come hang with us there, man. That'd be awesome. Maybe we'll have an extra mic. Maybe we'll throw you on the mic, too. Why not? Going away gift. You know what I'm saying? All right. So, you said Miami as well?
Yes, sir.
Now, all right, here we got Arizona Cardinals and the Minnesota Vikings. Arizona, last Thursday night, we were at Saki in Latham. That was a fun time there, too. Checking out was a different experience, but a hell of a lot of fun. Shout out to Lawrence Elliott out there, too. We had a lot of fun talking to him.
Yeah, had him on the show.
A lot of people loved his input, too. That was a good time. But
inspired by True
Arizona
Events
Cardinals,
Network.
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
What he goes to.
Absolutely. But then they end up mustering out that victory in a weird teeter-totter type of game to where I think I jinxed Andy Dalton saying how efficient he's been, and then he was actually terrible in that game. But next up, right? So then we got the Arizona Cardinals here against the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota coming off of a bye week. So let's see what they do coming out of a bye week after that rest, sitting there at 5-1. Arizona still, I think, has a lot of growing to do in what they've been doing lately. Still not the team that I thought they might have been. So I'm going to stick with the home team, well rested. Justin Jefferson still going off this year. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings.
Minnesota Vikings, and this is one of those teams that I kind of downplayed before the season started. And I was like, I really don't know if their defense is going to be better than the year prior. I was kind of questioning like what they were doing with their secondary, what they were doing with some of the D tackles that they had, but they have come on strong, and obviously the offense, they're still doing their thing. Justin Jefferson catching a boatload of passes, becoming the playmaker that he is. And now they're starting to distribute the football a little bit more to their tight end and Irv Smith Jr. So now it's not like, we just got to defend Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. No. Wait, check that. Now we have a tight end to deal with and Dalvin Cook. So no easy task for any defense. But Minnesota, and with their better defensive play this year, it's really kind of helped them, overall, as you see in the standings. Arizona, another one of those questionable teams. Like, they were like an opportunistic team last week. I mean, honestly, when you turn the ball over as much as the Saints did, it's hard to win games. It's almost impossible. So, Cardinals, I still think that they got a little bit ways to go, even though DeAndre Hopkins looked amazing for his first start back last week, and it looked like he never missed a beat, him and Kyler Murray. So, but I think this is kind of where it gets a little tougher for them. Minnesota, I got them at home.
All right, next the Vegas Raiders and the New Orleans Saints. Raiders last week, man, I was freaking out at first again because it's like, seriously, is this going to be happening? Because the way the Texans had come out in that game early on and just taking a lead and stuff, I'm like, come on, Raiders, let's get it done.
Really, yeah,
and then they ended up taking care of it, getting stuff done. So finally get another win here. But now they've got to face the New Orleans Saints, to where, again, it seems like that team, we want to talk about team looking for a quarterback as well. We said Andy Dalton had to have been the bright shining star in there because he was so not turning the ball over like Jameis Winston even has been. So now you're looking at that team and like, what do we really have? Because you got a Taysom Hill that we already know what he is. Jameis Winston, who's a turnover machine too as well, but now Andy Dalton, who now again looks like that's been that veteran, but now he's seen better days to where he can't even help you to anything. So it looks like that team's on absolutely going to be probably retool mode or rebuild mode after this season. So I'm going to probably ride with your Raiders on this one. I'm hoping they can get start moving forward and get some wins here.
The thing with Andy Dalton, he's been announced a starter already, and it's simple because the Saints offense does run better under Andy Dalton. I mean, despite what you saw, the turnovers last week, Alvin Kamara gets more yardage with him at the quarterback spot. He gets thrown the ball more, which is one of your dynamic players. You definitely want to feed him. And honestly, we have to still wait and see what happens with Michael Thomas, if he's going to come back this week or not. But also, Chris Olave made his return from injury last week. He got into the game a little bit more. And Jarvis Landry is another guy who's been missing from this lineup. So I can only imagine, like, when they get these healthy weapons back that can actually catch the ball, mind you. You know, Marquise Callaway. We've seen your failed attempt of becoming a receiver
last week, right?
So they can't wait to get these guys back. And when they do, I feel like this offense will be, obviously, it's going to be better. But let's finally see what this team has all together. We haven't yet seen their complete starting offense yet. So let's wait and see what happens. But with Vegas, I know they're going to New Orleans. I know it's a very tough place to play. But the Raiders, I feel like they got something to prove for the next few games. They're traveling a lot, but these are games that you have to win to get back into the divisional race. And I think they continue to do it right here.
All right, we got 5 minutes before the game starts, so we're going to roll through these fast as we can here for you guys. The New England Patriots and the New York Jets. Patriots have been playing like doo-doo. And, again, the quarterback situation, how healthy will they be? Jets, again, but they got injuries, too, on the offensive line, like Joe has mentioned, now, too. But that defense looks really good for them. Jets at home, this could be a tight game here. I mean, imagine the Jets can take out the Patriots in this one. I don't know. I always believe in Bill Belichick and what he's got against the Jets here. So it's going to be tough. You know what? I think I might do that. You know, Jets at home sounds good, and I'm not exactly sold on the Jets altogether here, too. So I picked them to lose the division, but New England to be right in front of them. So I'm going to ride with New England on this one.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets do something here.
I know.
I would like to see it.
This is one of those games where it literally could go either way. We've seen both teams show great promise, especially as of late. Not so much the Patriots. I know they lost last week. But the thing of it, this is the Jets, how are they going to be able to mask that offensive line hole there? Because that's a big thing. If they are able to do that, I really like the Jets' chances. I like what the defense has been doing. I like what Zach Wilson has been doing. And sometimes he, just like Daniel Jones, has to use his legs. And it's really kind of helping this offense grow. For New England, we've seen them play much better defense, except for last week. Last week was kind of perplexing a little bit. Not only was the offense off key, but the defense didn't look like it was all intact. So this is going to be a big matchup for both teams. I like the Jets being at home. I think I'm going to go with the Jets.
All right, here we go. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Pittsburgh has been playing like garbage still, too. Again, Kenny Pickett really trying to just grow so far this season. They're just going to see what happens with this, but it wasn't even exactly his fault for the loss. I don't think I've ever seen a Mike Tomlin team that has been this sloppy. Last week, I think I don't know how many penalties they had. It was just on top, one after another, after another, after another. You just see him doing the eye roll like, seriously, guys, what the hell are you doing? And that's, again, an issue with this team. The guys just not into it, I don't know, but just not managing the game properly. And when you have that many penalties, stuff like that, you can't really get yourself going anywhere. And even despite that, they were still kind of in it for a little bit too. Kenny Pickett did his best to try and get him into it, especially by using his legs. But facing the Philadelphia Eagles team off of a bye with all that rest too, and then adding more talent to them and how deadly they are at home, the way that crowd is, I like the Philadelphia Eagles in this one to stay undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles are undefeated. They are one of the best teams in the league right now. I mean, they are dangerous defensively. They're dangerous offensively. And Pittsburgh, we've seen them kind of battle through and try to make the best of a situation where they bench Mitch Trubisky, not doing so hot. Here comes the rookie. He's not doing so hot. You know, he's turning the ball over too. So, I mean, this team is still trying to figure its identity out on offense, still trying to make things work. And also, with the lack of Najee Harris not being able to be an impactful player, this is kind of stunting this offense as well. I don't know what they're... I think they need to get him out in the open space more, throw him the football a little bit more, kind of open up this offense, and that's going to help with their offensive situation. Listen, I love George Pickens. I love what he's been able to do. they have a good receiving core. For some reason, they're just kind of missing. You know what I mean? And missing targets, missing some big-time plays. Maybe they can put it together this week, but this is going to be a daunting test for them. I'm going with the Eagles.
All right, here we go. Next, Tennessee Titans and the Houston Texans here. Titans, I think, have found their niche now. They're rocking and rolling, getting it together here after like a lackluster start. Houston's still going to play them tough. They've been doing it this whole season, and I like what they're doing. But again, just turnovers at just terrible times for them, things, and just a team that's just growing. Not expected to do a whole lot, but a lot of fight and driving them. But despite that, I think the Tennessee Titans are still going to come out here with the win again.
Yeah, this is interesting. Like, the Texans are a tough football team, but something that I noticed, I went and looked at their yardage that they're giving up. They're giving up like 350 plus every single game. Like, that is not good for your defense to get into the red zone. And now here's a crazier stat. They are one of the best defenses in red zone defense.
Yeah,
they're extremely hard to score against. I don't get it. Those stats don't make any sense to me. But they're opportunistic, and they do make some plays, and that's kind of where the balance is. But Houston, we've seen them being a very competitive team this year. They are right in all these games, and it's just like they just can't get over the hump. I don't know what the deal is there. But Tennessee, this is a team where I'm still has some questions on too. Like we also said, like, hey, maybe you're going to have to mix it up, not just run the ball, maybe become more of a balanced offense. So let's see what they can do this week against the Houston defense. I got Tennessee too.
All right. Washington Commanders, the Indianapolis Colts. Colts with Ellinger here at home. Washington, though, seems like they've found their guy again here with Taylor Heinicke back at the helm. I just think they have more to offer here, and they're on a roll. I don't trust the Colts. You've lost my trust already, so you know what? I'm going with Washington.
They hurt you, didn't they?
They did. Yeah, now I'm done with them. Yeah, I'm writing them off. Just like that, Joe. What do you got?
Well, if Carson Wentz was starting, then I would not pick Washington. Yeah. But he's not. Yeah. So Taylor Heinicke, we've always had a lot of a love for Taylor, and now that he's got his opportunity once again to prove maybe he is the guy that they need to start every week. The Colts, like we talked about before earlier in the show, they have some problems, injuries. I don't know, personnel maybe. Like, it's a mess there, so I'm going Washington.
All right, the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. This is going to be a tough game, too. These teams are really in disarray right now, both of them all together, so this is going to be a shit show, I think. But the way the San Francisco 49ers, again, they've been kind of shooting themselves in the foot. So I think they can maybe turn things around here against a Rams team that really hasn't been able to keep Matt Stafford up and really allowing that pressure on him all the time. But San Francisco gaining that extra weapon and Christian McCaffrey there in the running game, I think you're going to see him utilize this week and alleviate some of that pressure off of Jimmy G. And that San Francisco defense is still going to get some pressure there with Nick Bosa. So I like San Francisco in this one against the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams, they've been struggling. They've been struggling to protect their guy, Matt Stafford, and honestly, it hasn't worked out too well. Not only has their offensive line been beat up, but the fact that they just can't figure out how to move the ball on offense a lot of times. And Stafford, I understand, like, yeah, he's been throwing some picks. He's been turning the ball over a little bit more often, but they got to figure something out in L.A. They got to figure it out on offense. Defensively, they're also not the same on that side of the ball either, which that's why you kind of see some of these high-scoring offenses kind of put up some points on them. I'm going the Niners in this one. I think that with Christian McCaffrey alongside with this offensive line getting healthier and Deebo Samuel being, the prolific player that he is, like, this is going to make not only the Niners offense more dangerous, but now they're getting healthier on defense. So they were already one of the better defenses. They're just going to become healthier and better.
All right, here we go.
Giants.
Here we go. Giants.
At Seattle.
You already know mine. I'm picking the Seattle Seahawks in this one.
That's right. And
Seattle at home.
I'm doing the same thing.
All right, there we go.
I like Geno Smith. I like what they've been doing. And because Seattle is home, that's why I'm going with Seattle.
Exactly. Just don't tell anybody at Restaurant 605. So we got to keep it tight on that one. All
right,
next up we got next we got the Green Bay Packers and the Buffalo Bills here. Green Bay again. I think when they scheduled this was the sad thing with this schedule that's happened this year.
I mean, honestly,
they expected a big thing on this one
because when they did the schedule, you got to remember, Devontae Adams was still on the team. Like, this schedule was done so early in the offseason and announced that Devontae was on the roster, and they thought, oh, wow, the Packers against Buffalo, this is going to be a good matchup. Prime time, they're going to have Devontae Adams versus this great defense and Aaron Rodgers and blah, blah, blah. And no, we're not going to see that same Packers team. This team is not only taking a beating from other opponents, but Green Bay is going into Buffalo on top of it all. Yeah, I got the Bills all day long.
I got the Bills, too. Circle the wagons. It's coming home for the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, speaking about the Buffalo Bills, so we posted in our group. If you guys are new, you guys want to head over to our group, search us up, Football on the No Show, whether you go to YouTube or Facebook. If you're on YouTube, do us a huge favor. It helps us with our algorithm. It helps us get more noticed. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to let you guys know when we go live. And please, become a know-it-all.
Yeah.
Real quick plug right there.
All right,
but not to mention, the Buffalo Bills have come out with plans for their new stadium was revealed for pictures and everything. We posted it on our group in Facebook. Make sure you take a look. They are actually nice. And it's funny because if they do it the way the blueprints are, they're going to have these huge Buffalo Bills literally out on as statues out front of it. It's going to be amazing.
Nice.
Inside, it's funny. It's almost like they duplicated the stadium for inside the Raiders and the LA Rams.
Oh, yeah?
It's the same kind of roof. Same.
Oh, wow.
It looks very similar.
It must be the newer style that everybody wants to go to.
Check it out.
Already,
awesome.
Mark Andrews is lighting up the secondary of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, next up, finally here for Monday Night Football, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns. Browns are doo-doo. I feel bad for Nick Chubb again, being a great player on a terrible team right now. They just can't wait till Deshaun Watson comes, if he can, even despite what's going on with the whole new trial and all that bull crap. Cincinnati seems like they're from the group, but they are without Jamar Chase for a few weeks. But they've got enough talent all around now, too, so now maybe you'll see T. Higgins get more involved with them on this one. So I
Tyler
like
Boyd too.
Yeah, Tyler Boyd, absolutely, and he's been doing it. So I like the Cincinnati Bengals on this one.
And the other thing too is to keep an eye out for is for fantasy owners for Hayden Hurst at the tight end. Like they might utilize him a little bit more often now that Jamar Chase is out. So something to keep an eye on. Other thing to keep an eye on too is their offensive line getting healthy. So with that being said, going in against Cleveland is a little bit banged up as well. But I like the Bengals. They're starting to hit on all cylinders. So I'm going Cincinnati.
Joe, you talked
Monday
about
night.
And now you talked about last week how you can't block into something. Look at this play that just happened here. The guy got pushed into his own dude again, and boom.
Blocking in the back.
Yeah, and they didn't call it. And now
kicking
it's
interference.
And now it's
that's kicking
Baltimore
interference.
Ravens ball. Look at.
Yeah, no, that's wrong.
You see that? Just like that. It
That's the
happens just
second
like that
time
while you're
this season that's
Look at
happened.
somebody probably watched because it's a copycat league. Somebody watched it happen and got away with it last week.
So
this
they
guy
try
does
it.
the same thing.
Might as
And
well
there you
try
go.
it.
Now the Baltimore Ravens come up with it. Amazing. So
Might
there you
as
go.
well
We just
try
witnessed that right there. So thank you so much for you guys joining us with the show. I know we ran it tight right up to the game, but we wanted to make sure we got our game in this week, or get our show in. So actually, we still have two people here still. So we definitely appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we will see you guys this weekend at Restaurant 605. Deion Lewis in the house. Come on, stop by, say hi, have some food and drinks, and we'll see you guys next time.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the No with Jim and Joe.